Can we share coherence? Become sensitive to the flow and feeling of our gathering. Coherence is the quality of forming a unified whole. A process of relationship can develop between things or people or groups that has a dynamic quality of togetherness and shared being. I'm going to suggest that when coherence develops stability and gathers amplification, transformation is possible. So here are questions I asked myself. How do we as a species grow transformative coherence? How do we advance a creative flow of peacemaking? I landed on two metaphors that you might have heard before: critical yeast and imaginal cells. They may be superpowers of transformation. Here's a sly superpower joke. The leader of a mythical country sought out a well-known sage and asked her, "What is your superpower?" The sage replied, "Hindsight." The leader scoffed, "That's not going to help us at all." The sage replied, "Yes, I can see that now." For something to be a superpower, we have to hold it as useful. Greta Thunberg is somewhat famous for stating that her superpower is autism. She realized that what makes her unique is also a gift. She states, "I have Asperger's, and that means I'm sometimes a bit different from the norm. Given the right circumstances, being different is a superpower." Greta Thunberg was a catalyst of change. She had a way of shining with the unexpected and attracting others to shine with her, gathering coherence. That's critical yeast, a powerful model of species transformation. Critical yeast is an idea that has already fermented in the minds of many. The phrase was coined by international peacemaker John Lederach as an active response to the discord of polarization and conflicting tribal views. He states, "We need some surprises and some surprising people who are willing to hang out with the unexpected." That's what the notion of critical yeast is. The smallest ingredient in bread baking has the capacity to make everything else grow. It's not the quantity, it's the quality mixed in with the mass. End quote. Critical yeast can be contrasted with critical mass. Critical yeast doesn't depend on numbers or on a majority view. It's a few people with depth rather than lots with a shared opinion. This metaphor suggests that a few deeply or widely connected people have more potential to stimulate collective growth than large numbers of people who think alike. In this view, opinion polls are not going to yield the essential ingredients of growth. Echoing that sentiment, Albert Einstein said, "That which counts can rarely be counted." In other words, what really matters can't be statistically measured. For example, universal love can't be measured. Einstein has another quote. "I think 99 times and find nothing. I stop thinking, swim in silence, and the truth comes to me." Einstein knows that effort matters, or he wouldn't think 99 times. He also knows truth will come by listening to a friendly universe. When we live through our bright self, we can energize, according to our predilections, the batter of matter that gets stirred into growth. Deeply engaged individuals can become living guideposts for wise action, and they can do so in their own way, joining an unseen process of fermentation. This, or something like this, is becoming necessity. I feel that tiny forests are an example of critical yeast. Tiny forests are a little miracle in the making. A tiny forest lives on top of an old landfill in the city of Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's about 2 years old, but the trees and fauna are growing much faster than normal, and it may already be drought proof. It has attracted a wide diversity of wildlife. In a year, it will be completely self-sufficient. That's because of careful planning. This little forest, only about the size of a basketball court, thrives because of its dense, enriched soil, supporting 1,400 native shrubs and saplings. The movement is just getting started in the United States. In Europe, hundreds of mini forests have been planted. India also has hundreds, and Japan, where it all began, has thousands. Many are the size of the playing area of a tennis court. And photo 1, please. This is the Cambridge tiny forest. This is August of this year. Thank you, Anne. These little forests grow 10 times faster than normal tree plantations and are attractive to various wildlife species. Griffith Park Tiny Forest, north of Los Angeles, is over 2 years old. The specialist who oversaw the planting states that the little forest has drawn all manner of insects, lizards, birds, ground squirrels, and western toads. The toads had to climb a concrete embankment, traverse a bike trail, venture down another dirt embankment, and cross a horse trail. A university study of 11 Dutch mini forests found more than 1,100 types of plants and animals at the sites. Birds thought to be extinct have returned to tiny forests in Cameroon, and they can literally lower heat in urban areas. Critics state that tiny forests require a large initial investment and local involvement. But the hope is that these little forests can bring diversity to areas that seem devastated. This practice is relatively old in Japan. It was developed in the 1970s and won the Blue Planet Prize in 2006. Now let's do it, and let's do photo 2 now, please. This is the 2008 before photo where a tiny forest was planted on the approach to a Japanese temple. And photo 3, please. Same place, only 6 years later. I find this astonishing. Thank you, Anne. Tiny forests were not initiated in Europe until 2015. At this point, we don't know if it will have a catalytic effect. To me, this seems to have the ingredients of critical yeast. Now, there are some people hoping, wishing that space aliens or science or an army of angels will just show up in time to rescue us. Eckhart Tolle was beginning a talk recently, and he was still holding his smartphone. He said, "I better keep this nearby. The commander of the galactic fleet may call me." He smiled and put down his device. We don't have an app that will transport or beam us to safety, but you could find this. And photo 4, please. Would you stand on it on the chance that the commander of the galactic fleet may call you? Personally, I don't feel we can count on space aliens to be our salvation. There are many reasons to hold this view. Here's Gary Larson with a comic perspective. And photo 5, please. And pretty cool, Dewey. Hey, shake the jar and see if they'll fight. This is butterfly magic. We call it metamorphosis. Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Butterfly metamorphosis is triggered by imaginal cells. Imaginal cells is a phrase used in biology that denotes the hidden potential that triggers insect transformation. I find it interesting that in Jungian psychology, the imaginal is a numinous realm that can be shaped by creativity and imagination. It can be a visionary or myth-making space, a connection to dynamic metaphor. The metaphor of butterfly transformation is to see ourselves as imaginal cells working to build the butterfly of a better world. Imaginal cells are butterfly potential carried invisibly inside the caterpillar all its life, something like stem cells. They come to life in the mysterious process of transformation within the chrysalis. Elizabeth Sotoris, an evolutionary biologist, shared the metaphor. She states, "My favorite metaphor for the current world transition is that of a butterfly in metamorphosis." Okay, so it goes like this. A caterpillar crunches its way through its ecosystem, eating 20 times its weight in a day until it's too bloated to continue and hangs itself up, its skin hardening into a chrysalis. Inside the chrysalis, deep in the caterpillar's body, tiny things biologists call imaginal discs begin to form. Not recognizing the newcomers, the caterpillar's immune system snuffs them out as they arise. But they keep coming faster and faster, then begin linking up with each other. Eventually, the caterpillar's immune system fails from the stress, and the discs become imaginal cells that build the butterfly by feeding on the soupy meltdown, the imaginal goo of the caterpillar's body. A growing number of people feel that this is a good metaphor for global transformation. The old system of overconsumption, predation, and a rigid rejection of necessary change are breaking down the fabric of the human collective. A growing number of people are becoming imaginal cells for global transformation. It's possible. There is an evolutionary impulse in the human collective consciousness, hidden potential that can transform us into a more inclusive and caring species. It'll take some work. I have a story that I believe illustrates the potential of imaginal cells as living metaphor, something wondrous in the ambient background. This story comes from Brother Phaphu, who is sort of the spiritual descendant of Thich Nhat Hanh in Plum Village, France. Brother Phaphu is the abbot, though he states that the whole community is connected, that Togetherness is the collective habit. He states it is his job to hold space and to listen. This story came from a recent family retreat at Plum Village, where whole families come with their children. It's a very popular retreat. In one exercise, the children are asked to find a pebble and hold the pebble in their hand and listen, feel connected with nature. Brother Phappu found an 8-year-old boy sitting next to a pond holding a pebble. This is Brother Phappu telling the story. These are his words. So this child, I saw him sitting by a pool and he was holding a pebble and he was definitely deep in reflection. And I was like, so curious. And I asked, what are you contemplating? 8 years old, okay? And he said, well, I'm holding this pebble. And if this pebble represents a good deed, and I throw it in the pond, and I know it will ripple, then it seems like my good deeds will have such an impact on the whole pond. So it is important to cultivate good deeds. Is that right? And I, in my mind, I'm like, this is a Zen master in my presence. And I just wanted to bow to him and wanted to say, teach me more, young Zen master. Teach me more. It was such a profound moment. He was really contemplating. And his mother was so taken back from it. And she asked him, did you learn that today from the children's program? And he said, no, that just came up as a thought. And this made me also reflect. So who taught him this? End quote. Brother Phappu also comments that the environment, the space, co-creates what can happen. That feels like truth to me, that a space can shine. That's at the heart of this talk. In the right circumstance, critical yeast becomes fermentation. Or maybe we can envision ourselves as imaginal cells working to build the butterfly of a better world, slowly gathering creative force for a more connected and loving collective future. We can't predict where revolutionary innovations will occur, only that we can dream together. I like the metaphor of becoming a spiritual wind, breathing with the sky's breath as dreams become flight. We don't always know how our essential goodness can be transmitted through interactions with the world, like throwing a pebble into a pond. I'd like to end with a poem that is an invitation to transform separation into connection. And photo 7, please. This is so y'all can read along. Everything is Waiting for You by David White. Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely at times you have felt the grand array, the swelling presence, and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing, even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and all the creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you. Thank you, Anne. Everything is patiently awaiting our arrival, waiting for us to share the alchemy of breaking bread, of growing wings, of holding our home together. Thank you deeply for sharing this time.